it occurred to us that we need something of an orientation for the Staniford Street project. So I'm just going to go through and try to orient it. One thing I want to say from the start is you want to understand the building before you start drawing into it, right? So you want to interrogate the building in plan, elevation, and section. If you understand that, we can get something done here, right? So you open the file in Revit, and it's very confusing because there's a ton of stuff over here. What is all this? Aside from the fact that you may or may not have been prepared to do this at this point, the first thing you want to do is that you can quit. This is a project browser, and you can quickly collapse it all, right? To just show you how this is how Revit is set up. You learned this in class, you may have forgotten. These are views, these are legends, schedules, if there are any in the project. The sheets are organized by discipline. Okay, this particular company that basically how the browser is organized. Generally, we don't get to this level of segregation of the sheets because the projects that we deal with are so small for the classes that were introduced. But let's say, so we start with all, right? If we click all, right, nothing terribly changes here, but you can see that your views and the sheets start to report in the order that they're printed. Okay. So anyway, if you find that confusing, let's just collapse that. And what we're looking for is a plan and then elevation or sectional views of this model. So I generally look at the sheets first, say, where are there reported some typical floor plans, right? Wouldn't be okay, so there are some schedules that organize apparently the order in which the work is going to be done. I'm speculating here, right? I'm not expert at Revit saying I know what's, but these appear, all right. 101 appears to, A100 appears to be the basement, 101, level 1. Let's guess that that's the ground floor. There's some exterior elevations. That's a good place to start, right? Double click on that page. Okay, so this looks like an overview. That's cool. Existing building, new addition, phase 1. Okay, so that's the scope of work. So the upper stories of the building are not going to be very thoroughly represented, presumably because they're not intervening in that. Anyway, let's look at phase 2. Phase 2 appears to be adding around the perimeter over here. Okay, so phase 1 is around this size, this side. If I double click, and I think I might be able to select, that's phase 1, right? And phase 2 is this side. Okay. Exterior elevations, phase 1 and phase 2. Cool. You're looking at a set of drawings that is explaining what they are doing with the building, not what you are necessarily doing. So you're coming at it. Here's some exterior elevations, highly illustrative, right? They're set to some, there's a lot more color than I would use in a construction document, but whatever. Blah, 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 blah. That's exterior elevations A. These are presumably some other views. Other views. Okay. So what have we got so far? Level 1, level 2 is explaining the scope of work. And there's a big interior in the project, and there's a column grid, which we're not looking at in any kind of detail yet, but it is there, right? It's holding up a good bit of the building, right? And you can also quickly go to the 3D view, click there, and that's showing you, okay, this is the building. Now, somebody took the time and trouble to model, right, this regular array of windows around the building, but that's probably not much in the inside of that. And there's phase 1 and 2. So all of this stuff near the bottom, you could expect that to be very detailed. The rest of it, this is generally, so that's your default 3D view. I clicked on the little house up here. Let's call it Little House on the Prairie, so that you guys will remember it. Okay. Floor plan, overview, kind of an overview, exterior elevations. Let's look for some sections. Here's some more exterior elevations. Let's see what those look like. These appear to be non-illustrative construction documents that sort of, begin to talk about the curtain wall and how it's arranged and how it's constructed and the different type of panels involved in that. So those are exterior elevations that look to be similar as these, except they're in line drawings. So we're looking at a little more detail. I'm looking for sections. I don't see, so how, all right, these guys may not have drawn building sections per se, but maybe have divided the work up into wall sections because they're working around the perimeter of the building. So that might make sense. Just scrolling down, looking for, and I'm looking at sheets, right? And if the sheets have meaningful names assigned to it, that's what I'm looking at. Demolition plan, all this type of stuff is going to tell you a good bit about what they're doing. Abbreviations. Basement. Okay, I don't see an obvious set of sections, so maybe organize. Let's look at these exterior wall sections. So that I'm guessing that they go around the perimeter of the building. And explain the scope of the intervention, and that appears to be right here. So it looks like this is sort of a gradual marching around the perimeter of the building, explaining what they're going to build over there. In the absence of a building section, we may need to generate one. Nothing I'm doing right now involves any work, right? I am just browsing through a report prepared by the architect in the form of sheets that organizes views of the 3D model. Some people have asked, how do I copy, one thing into another Revit document? It doesn't work that way. There's a central 3D model, and all these sheets are reporting views of that model. So you have to work within that. Okay, so looks like we have exterior elevations. We don't have obvious overall sections. That would make sense because this is the nature of this intervention. It's kind of a perimeter phenomenon, right? They're just building a big, huge lobby around the perimeter of the building. So it's logical that there is not an overall building section. If we need to build one, we need to find a view that we want to section. The other thing is that often, let's look at interior detail, not details, sorry. Interior, there may be interior elevations. Level 1 and G1. Let's look at those. So those are going to be as close to a building section. Nope, not that one anyway. Let's look at level 1. So to some extent, this is the closest thing that we have as a section through the building. And it's limited in height to the intervention that they're building. Did we already look at these wall sections? Yes, we did. Okay, let's go back to the plan view. Level 1. And I'm gonna try to take, remember, these sheets are reporting on the model. So anything you see here is a view of the model. I'm going to activate this view. So this is letting me into the model itself, right? There's a lot of stuff drawn on top of this that's occluding my view of what's below, including this filled region, right? I'm just going to zoom out, go to my view section, select just building section 500. I didn't see any 500 drawings. So, but I'm going to use that section marker type because that's the kind of view that we're going to generate, right? And I'm just going to cut through north, south. Okay, already this is generating something of a problem. None of the created elements are visible here. So there's something is preventing me from viewing the section marker I'm trying to draw. So it means that, what does it mean? Let me pause for a second here. a couple things that we can do. I can uncheck crop view. Let's go into visibility graphics. Okay, model category. So everything here is grayed out, so it's controlled by a template, and it appears a view template. Phases, PDA phases. I'm just going to turn that off. Okay, so I've turned off view template because that apparently they've disabled the viewing section marker, because I just try to draw one and I can't see it. Visibility graphics section marker is found in annotation categories. And there it is. They don't want you to see sections. I'm going to click that and apply. Probably want to do that for elevations as well while we're here. Right. So now magically there's the section line that I drew. Right. So maybe I don't want to look that way. Let me reverse it. I want to look in that direction, pull it out outside the building here. Here's another section. That's section 8. Let's pull it into the building. Somebody else drew that, but we're gonna appropriate it. Okay, so there's section 23, apparently, right? And there's section 8. So those are going to be useful views for us to examine this building, to look at it in. So, all right, let's look at this one first. Go to view. Okay, so there's a useful view of the building that allows us to look and see what's going on. And it appears that there is the ground floor is at 36.2, so that is because it's not 0, right? That means it's probably some absolute number. So they're giving you an elevation value above sea level. So the building at the ground floor is 36.2. Let's just move some of these markers out of the way. Looks like they were all constrained together, so we're going to have to uncheck the constraint there. I'm just trying to sort of group these. So top of slab for something or other. I'm going to just hide that to get it out of my way. Level 2 is at 61. What is that? Let's see if I can pull out. That elevation bullet. Now this is a very large model. Let's just hide that. Hide in view element. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sense of where level 1 is, where level 2 is. There's a mezzanine in the middle. There's a good 30. Let's simply measure it. Annotate. Aligned. Level 1 to level 2. This is 24 feet. Right? There's a lot of space in there. these lines, the green lines we see up and down, right? If there's stuff in a view that's confusing, ask it, what is it? What's this green line? What is it? Reference, that's a reference plane. Can I hide that stuff? Yeah, I can select it, right click and say, hide in view that category of stuff, right? And that's, so that disappeared, and that's a little bit less confusing. So I have a section 8. I don't remember if I drew it or if it was already there. Let's go back to the view that we started with. No, not that one. Plan, there was a plan view. So I'm just closing views. The other thing we can do is Control Tab back. There it is. I'm tabbing back through the views. And that's the view we were looking at. And that is, I believe, section 8. Let's look at this other one that we drew, section 23, right click, say go to that view. All right, so now I'm looking at a section of the building through whose cutting plane is somewhat parallel to Staniford Street. Same thing. Select one of these. I want to hide these things. Hide and view that category of stuff. All right, and I'm looking at a section through the building. The same sort of things are reported here. So maybe at this point, I want to create a couple of sheets of my own. All right, new sheet. Let's bring, there are a lot of title blocks here. Let's bring in ones that I handed out to you guys, useful Revit stuff. So if I go to my documents, useful Revit folder has a Suffolk University title block. It's here somewhere. That one. No, that's mine. That one. Okay. Open. Create a sheet. Now I'm just going to bring in those two views I'm creating. So I'm creating what's missing from these drawings is sort of like an overall section because it wasn't constructed to because the intervention didn't lend itself to, you know, to analyzing the building in that sort of overall sectional view that we kind of need for purposes that we're commandeering the project to do something else with it. Sometimes a little difficult to find the view that you want to insert in a sheet from the project browser. You can also, from the View tab, insert a view here. Click on Place View. It allows you to find, because we remember section 8 and section 23, so we can placing section 8 here. And I'm going to place also section 23. That's the one I don't remember if we created it or somebody else did. Okay, so here are two views of the model. Do I need to look at the whole tower? Probably not. Right? So I select this view. Activate it. Crop it tight. I'm just sort of leaving out the upper area. Deactivate it. Do the same for this. Extends, put these three on, activate it. Crop it. Left and right as well. We don't need to see that much of the earth, right? Deactivate. So here's a couple of useful building sections. Let's give them a name, useful building sections. And if you want to remember where you're placing things, then maybe just give it a number that, let's call it A3. Usually use that number of drawings associated with building sections. So now you have a drawing of the building in section. You have the building in plan. Let's tab back to that. Right? Building in plan, building section. I'm going to save this in my handouts folder. Hopefully this didn't take too long. File, save as, file, save as. Handouts. Let's put it in that folder. 50 Staniford lesson in understanding building. And the video will be saved as well. So you can view this model and hopefully follow the steps in that I've recorded in that lesson. Good luck.